Welcome to the Midnight Entrepreneur. I'm your host, Easton Bennett, alongside my fellow co-host, Tyler Sinden. We are both entrepreneurs who are learning, growing, and building our own businesses, and our goal is to share our experience and knowledge to help you grow and become a successful entrepreneur. Strap in. Before we get started, if you have any questions you'd like us to cover or answer, you can email us at themidnightentrepreneur@gmail.com. If you'd like to join our business Discord where we talk about wins, business problems, or general questions, shoot us a message and we will get you in there. Tyler, how's it going? I'm getting better at that intro.
Yeah, you nailed it that time. I'm a little sore, a little tired. Just wrapped up a 3-mile run. It's in my what's going on. I just added in there, but yeah, I really don't feel like being here. I feel like laying on the couch doing nothing, watching TV maybe. But we're here. I'm going to be munching throughout this episode because on these days, it's tough to get the amount of calories I need to get in to make sure that I'm maintaining weight. So I'm going to be munching on some nuts while we're chatting. What's going on with you?
Good Lord. I'm going to have to hear you munching on nuts the whole goddamn time. Things are good. We're recording on a Saturday, which is a little bit different. Usually we record on Tuesdays, but when you guys are listening to this, I will be in Vegas again for the second time. This trip's a little bit different, going with the girlfriend and a couple other couples. So that'll be a good time. It's supposed to be 118 degrees, Tyler.
That's pretty hot.
Absurdly hot.
That's pretty
absurdly hot.
That's very hot. You're going to be
I
able
didn't
to
even know
survive?
Hopefully. It's either I'm going to be in the pool or in some air-conditioned casinos. So, yeah, it's pretty hot. I didn't even realize it really got that hot. I thought that was like a fake thing. But, yeah, apparently it does.
Isn't Vegas like the desert?
Yeah, it's right in the middle of the desert.
Yeah, it definitely gets that hot in Vegas. You got to, make sure you're hydrated. Drink lots of water. H2O.
Water. Yeah, we'll see.
H2O.
But yeah, that should be good. We're getting this episode recorded so we can get this out before I leave. But yeah, good to chat. This episode's going to be Thursday.
Okay. So we're going to have to push next week's too.
Yeah.
Okay.
So film late and then we'll be back on track. But yeah, this episode's going to be a little bit different. Usually, we go a little bit of an intro about how things are going, some business updates, and then a news story, and then into the episode topic. But this week's episode topic is actually just going to be a plethora of business updates. And we're going to try to bring as much value to you as we can with what we're going through right now. So we're going to skip the intro, do a 40 minute long intro, and we're going to get into this week's news topic right away. Tyler, this week's news topic, student debt forgiveness. It has been announced. When was this article? Was this it's pretty recent?
I think it was pretty recent because my one buddy sent the post to me on Instagram, I think this morning, and the account posted it yesterday. So I'm assuming it was like within the past couple of days that this happened. And time of this recording is July 15th. So I feel like it was somewhere in this time range.
Yeah, and student debt forgiveness, basically an overview of what that is the Biden administration announced they're relieving some student debt, and I think it's 20 to 25 years. If you've been making payments, you get your student debt relieved, so it's not for the people that are just coming out of college like tomorrow, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yeah, I briefly glanced over that, so that's at least good to see that it's not just someone that went to college, they just graduated, they got like $400K in student debt. How? No idea, but they do. And it's not just going to be those types of people. It's going to be, and the crazy part is when you think about that, these people have been paying it off for 20 plus years. That's crazy. That's like, man, that's wild.
It's like a house payment,
right? It's worse.
So you're not a fan of people that just graduate having their student debt forgiven?
Oh, not at all. Because because if someone just graduated, I graduated fairly recently, and now I'm nearly paid off with my student debt. So how does that make sense with someone like myself or other people that actually put that time, put that money and effort into them paying their student loans off or whatever it might be, whereas these people that just graduated or they get this pass and they're like, oh, I don't have to pay it off. It's like, that just sucks. It's like socialism. Yeah. It's like, no.
That's what I wanted to know, because obviously you have student debt, and I was curious. I never went to college, so I don't have any student debt. What the thought process was behind someone that has those loan payments. And again, you're very close to paying them off. So how it feels to be a person that's pretty close to paying them off, and then now these loan payments are being forgiven. Because I know it was probably a year and a half ago maybe, where they were going to relieve $10,000 worth of everyone's student debt. And that obviously failed. That didn't happen. But I wanted to hear the thought process from someone that was involved in it and now almost paid off.
Yeah, I think there's a few ways that you can look at this, because for me, I actually went through the struggle and actually the hardships of actually paying it off and having the discipline to consistently put that amount of money away to be able to chip more than the minimum payment. And that's basically what I did. I wouldn't say for the first 2-ish years after I graduated, but the past year or so, I started saving, not really saving. I just started putting like $1,000 every single month towards my student loans just to get rid of it as fast as possible. And I know some people like to go with the minimum payment, but then you're like these people that have it for 20 plus years where you're just continually paying. And then over time, with the interest building up, you end up paying maybe like double the amount of what you actually borrowed. So I think the good thing for me is that I built up these habits and disciplines to actually put aside some money and actually put it towards that. And then there's actually going to be a feeling of, what is that, fulfilling
gratification.
Yeah, where I actually put in the work, I actually put in the effort to pay it off, where these other people, they're just gonna, it's like these handouts, and that's not really how life works. You don't get these handouts all the time. It's like, oh, I want this job, give me that job. And it's like, no, you're not qualified, you're not gonna get it. Or maybe it's like you get a job and then it's like you get fired because you're not doing your job. It's like, what the hell, man, I want this job. And it's like they just expect everything to be given to them and handed to them. So I think that's one of the good things about me actually going through the process and paying everything off, is that I actually have that sense of fulfilling, that I actually went through, put the discipline in, and put aside some money to actually pay it off. And I think I'll feel more fulfilled that I actually did that.
Yeah. And I think people's main argument is that they talk about, well, you decided to get the loan, so you should have to pay it off. What are your thoughts on that? Of people saying, you decided to go to that school, it might have been more expensive than going to a local school or wherever. You decided to go there and take on that student debt, so you should be responsible for it.
100%. It's what's it called? Like, repercussions. I had another word, but I can't remember it for the life of me. It's like the more common word for it. But
responsibilities,
consequences, like you got to actually bear the consequences of your decisions. Your decision was to go to school, and if you couldn't afford it, you had to get these student loans. So it's a consequence of your choices, and you chose to go to this school knowing that you're going to end up having to pay more money in student loans. So, you know, there's cause and effect. So it's like if you go down the street and you push someone, there's probably going to be a reaction to that, and there's going to be a consequence to that, right? Right. So they're not just going to be like, oh, sorry, when you push them. They might come back, push you, punch you, whatever. There's consequences to your choices and your decisions, your actions. So that's part of what it is. So that's why I personally chose to go to a more affordable school, that I wouldn't be drowning in student debt, and it would just still give me the college experience. I'd be able to go to school, learn a little bit, maybe get a piece of paper that says I'm good. I don't know what it does. I don't even know where it's at, but yeah. So that's part of my decisions was I went to a lower tiered school, and I came out with a piece of paper and less student debt. So it's all consequences with your decisions. That's my opinion. What do you think?
I agree. I think that you should be responsible for anything. It's just like if you go buy a house, you're responsible for that mortgage for 30 years. So I agree on the tangent of that. You should be responsible for the decisions you make. I understand the flip side of people saying, relieve it, but I don't think it should. I just want it relieved for like the people I know. It's like if my sister got her student debt relieved, awesome, good for her. But also I think one of the arguments that people say is that it could spark the economy. If people had, let's say, $500 a month more instead of paying student debt, they're obviously going to spend that elsewhere. So I do think it might have some trickle down economics effects where they're going to be spending more and the economy might boom, but obviously that's not certain. But you'd think it would.
But are they really going to have more money if they end up getting taxed more? Because how do you just make money disappear? That's basically what they're doing. And now you got to have that way of making it reappear. And I think they make it reappear through increase in taxes, where they already tax us up the wazoo, where you get taxed on paying yourself, or you get taxed on your business, you get taxed on selling, you get taxed on buying, you get taxed on everything. Where what happens if they just start increasing that? Now all of a sudden you were paying, say maybe you were paying the minimum amount, which was maybe $100 per month. Now when you're going out to get paid, now when you're going out to the grocery store to buy something, or whenever there's a situation where there's taxes involved, that tax now is maybe increased 5-10%. And that added up over a month, maybe you're actually getting less money back to you, because now you're paying more, now you're getting taxed more. And whereas if you were only paying, say, $100, I don't know, maybe it's just another lens.
I feel like people they let it slide more when they're getting taxed rather than if they own a payment, you know? If everyone's getting taxed, it's like, okay. But if it's just like, oh, this is my payment I have to make, my neighbor doesn't have to make the same payment, then that's where they're like, oh, I want this forgiven. But it's hard because depending if it's federal debt, like from the government, or if you're getting private loans for your student, someone owns that debt. So like a private loan, you can't just say, we're going to clear that, because then the person that owns that debt, the private loan companies, then they're out the money. I get if it's a government loan, then you can maybe wipe it because the government just makes shit up. But
prints money.
Yeah, it really depends on the types of loans for sure.
Yeah, there was something I was going to say. You just stopped there. I leaned back to continue chewing, but then you just stopped. But yeah, it makes me think that like a lot of people, even myself included, don't understand how much we get taxed, because I think tax is only, I say, within like the last 100 years where it was created. And I think it was originally only created for the rich, and it was just a really small percentage, like 10-15%. But now we literally get taxed on everything. And I don't think people realize the amount of how much we actually get taxed. And I hear Andy talk about it all the time, where it's basically, I don't know what you want to call it, like theft or thievery, but they're just, the amount that they actually tax us. I don't think people actually realize just how much we do get taxed, because I don't think they look at when they buy groceries. I don't think people realize that they're also getting taxed there, and that's going towards whatever it is. So it's just so much. Like, I know you hear a lot of people when they get their paycheck and they're like, yeah, government took half of it. And it's like, whenever you get paid more, it's like, it's not even worth it because government's just going to end up taking more. And it's just like, it's a bad mindset to have. But at the same time, that's the only time you really think that the government's taxing you and taking your money, but you don't really realize it, like when you go and get gas, when you go and get groceries. Exactly. I think those are the smaller ones that actually add up over time. And I'm still somewhat oblivious to this, but I'm starting to realize more about it. So, yeah. Yeah.
And I think it's good because the government has to get funded somehow. Like, it can't be all for profit. I'm not against all taxes because I want my roads fixed. I want, some of the perks of, police officers, firefighters. I want that stuff. But when it's going to things that you don't really care for, that's when it gets a little bit hairy. And also, taxes started much longer than 100 years ago. I don't know if you remember the Boston Tea Party, but I'm
not American.
That was 1773, I think. And that's when they were going on about no taxation without representation.
Okay.
They were pissed about, they're pissed about all the taxes that the British were giving them. So, tax has been around for a long time, but I don't think people do realize it as much as they should. And it's perfect timing because the student debt forgiveness, there's an election next year. I don't know if you're aware, but the presidential election next year. So that's nice a little hoorah for Biden to be like, look at what we're doing.
Yeah.
Not a political podcast, but
to try and wipe out the last 3 years that he's done. He's like, oh, I forgave all your student loans. Reelect me, and then run on that. We'll see.
Reelect me. But yeah, that's a little news story we want to give you guys. If you've been paying your student loans for 20, 25 years, you might be in luck at this point of your life. So way to make just the minimum payment. You knew it would come back around to you eventually.
Yeah, maybe I should have done that and waited 30 years. Maybe they would have paid it off for me.
Exactly. Let's get into this week's kind of topic. We're just going to be going back and forth, bouncing on some updates. Tyler, I'm going to throw it over to you. Some business updates. It feels like it's been forever since we recorded, but it's literally just last week. So
has it only been a week?
I don't know. All my days are messed up.
I feel like this is the first time we've recorded on the weekend. I think we recorded on Friday, so basically a week. But yeah, how this idea originally came up was when I was coming up with my stuff for the weekly update. I feel like I've just been doing so much and I've had so much on my plate, and especially this last week. This last week was really busy, but at the same time, it was pretty productive, and I got some good momentum and good needle moving tasks done, I would say, maybe, potentially. I don't know, maybe not. We'll find out. But yeah, I just had a lot of stuff, and I'm like, I don't even know. Maybe we could just do a whole episode on this. So that's basically how it stemmed from. And as I was saying at the start, this is more so personal, but marathon training. And I just wrapped up a 3-hour run, and that was my first 3-hour run today. Last week I did a 2 hours and 45 minutes, but that actually had some workout segments in it, and that kind of threw me through a loop. But my legs were like falling apart when I was on this one. I don't know if I should.
Was it shitty?
I tried out so I just bought some pairs of new shoes, and I tried those out for the long run, and it was kind of a risk because I was like, I don't know if they're going to be good for like a long run. They were good on shorter distances, so I was like, sure, I'll give it a try. I'll try it out. So I tried them out, and like the first 10 miles, my feet were hurting quite a bit, and I don't know if it was just I was used to the pain, and then it was just like I don't really feel it anymore, or everything just got numb. But after about 10 miles, I was like, okay, I don't really feel anything. But then when I was getting close to like the last 5 miles that I was doing, I was like, oh, my legs are fucking, they're just so sore. And there was one point where I stopped because there was traffic and crossing, and I don't know what it was, but like my knees were like, they were like still in the motion and still wanted to keep moving. And I'm like trying to stand still, and they were like popping up, and I was like,
they're running in place.
Right. It was like feeling really funny, but yeah, it was a tough one. And this wasn't even, so this was at a steady pace, which is slightly faster than my easy pace. And my goal for the marathon is to be running at sub 3:30. And the pace I ran today, I'm about 30 seconds per mile above 3:30 for a total marathon. And it's like, oh man, I don't even know if I'll be able to, I should be able to, but it's like my stretch goal is sub 3:15, and then my bonus stretch goal is sub 3. I'm like, yeah, unless a lot of adrenaline kicks in, I don't see it happening. So yeah, I guess marathon training has been going well, and it's just, I think that's keeping me really busy with a lot of stuff, and it's making me prioritize a lot of my time and tasks to make sure that I'm getting all this other stuff in, because like 4 hours total today was spent exercising. So
how many miles did you run today?
I ran about 21 miles. So my run was 3 hours, and then I'm including my workout as well, because I'm working out as well. So I'm getting a minimum of 45-minute lift in. And then on top of that, I'm also doing a cardio session, which is usually for my marathon. So Saturdays are my long runs, and I got totaled about 4 hours of exercise time. So that's a quarter of my day. So I really got to be able to strategically plan out my days and make sure that I'm utilizing my time to the best of my abilities, because otherwise it's just going to go away. And that's one thing I've struggled with, I feel like, is I don't have enough time in my day, and my 9 to 5 is taking up a lot of my time to be able to do all these tasks that I want to be doing, like for my business and my side business and marathon training and all that shit. So yeah, it's forcing me to really prioritize my timing and make sure that I'm not wasting a lot of it.
Gotta quit.
Yeah. Yeah, I've been thinking about it a lot recently, and I think so. I think it's going to be sometime after the marathon, because we got a retreat that I already bought the plane ticket for. So it's, I'm thinking like, so you said 2023. I think my student loan, I'll be done October or November, and I have the retreat first, like end of August. So I feel like I'm going to be going to the retreat for sure, and it would be nice to just have my student loans paid off. So maybe 2024.
There you go.
You said, I think I said 2023, but 2024.
Yeah. So we'll do a update episode when it gets to that point. It'll be just one grand episode about Tyler quitting. That'll be the title.
Yeah. It'll be the what is it? The step from 9 to 5 to entrepreneurship. And I know Alex always talks about it, where that was his hardest decision he's ever had to make in his life, is leaving his job and doing entrepreneurship full time. And it's definitely a tough one to do, just because like I've built the connection with all the people I work with, and it does give me a lot of freedom to be able to work there, work remote, and I can travel when I work, and it's nice to have the paycheck coming in. So it'll be a big step for one small step. What is it? One small step for man, one big leap for mankind. I don't know what it is.
Yep.
That's what it's gonna.
Exactly.
That's what it's gonna feel
I thought
like.
you were maybe on the moon.
That's what it's gonna feel like.
Yeah. But we'll do an update episode on that. Good that marathon training is going good. As far as an update on my end, I know we were talking about, must have been a couple weeks ago, the Pennsylvania big project that I sent 3 proposals for. Hadn't heard from the guy. I reached out to him like 2 or 3 times through email. I think I emailed him twice. And then finally I just texted him. I think I emailed him twice, commented on his LinkedIn post once, and then just finally texted him here a couple days ago. And he said they decided to go with a local company. Says, I appreciate the work you put into it. And I said, that's totally fine. That's kind of what I figured after not hearing from him. And said, went with local company. And I said, okay, good luck. I'll be following along on all the content you put out. So good luck with it. And then the only thing I was thinking about that situation is that why, this has happened times before, but why do people almost feel the need to not say, like, it's okay if you say, hey, no, we're not going to go with you, but why drag it out so long, Like, just send an email back and say, hey, decided to go with a local company. Thanks for your help, right? He could have sent that email instead of me having to reach out 3-4 times, and then finally answers a text message,
Well, didn't you say one time he emailed back saying that he's vetting some local local companies?
He told me that on the call, but he said he was meeting with him the week after.
Oh.
So which I assume the meetings were already lined up, right? Mm-hmm. And he was meeting with these people the next week. So then when I reached out 2 weeks after that, and then 2 weeks after that, and then 3 weeks after that, I'm like, you've had to have met with these people before by now, And
right.
Maybe he was still in the decision process, which is totally fine, but I feel like you have an idea of the route you're going to go.
Yeah. I feel like it would be good to just keep them in the loop, be like, hey, I've vetted a couple local companies, or it looks like we're going this way, or like, it's extremely simple to do that. And one of my things that I have on here is about follow-up. So, I mean, I could ask some of those questions right now. So you obviously said you went with email, texting. What do you typically do? What do you find like the best responses with follow-up on different conversations like this?
I mean, phone calls are obviously the best, but I don't like making them.
Yeah.
I'd say it's phone calls and then text messages and then emails, because emails are so easy to not respond to, whether it's on purpose or you forget. People get a lot of emails sometimes. So I think emails are the easiest to ignore.
Yeah.
Which I try to answer all the emails I can, even if it's a question that, even if I'm not interested, I email back and say, hey, not interested. Thanks though. right? So that just gives them the time of day to at least say, hey, I'm acknowledging this. I appreciate you doing this, but I'm not interested. Especially when you've had it, like, especially in this situation, I've had a discovery call with them. We went over the ideas. I sent them a proposal. At least at that point, let me know, which is totally fine. They don't want to do that. I understand. You go with a local company. Honestly, it's probably a better idea for him logistically.
Yeah.
But after going through all of it, be like, hey, appreciate it.
Yeah.
Instead of waiting 2.5 months. So yeah, I mean, if you don't answer like a cold email or something, whatever, that's a little bit different than if you've had a conversation and a phone call and pitch meetings, all of this different stuff. So yeah, I like to follow up the easiest, whatever the client, it's easiest for the client. If you can get a phone call, like if you can get their number and call them, obviously that's best. I don't really like calling. I just like sending a message. Because really, if you call them, you get an answer. But if you send 3 emails over 3 weeks, you kind of have the answer in and of itself if they're not answering.
It's true. Yeah, that's somewhat of one of the questions that I also have here. Like, how long do you typically wait for any of the follow-up? Do you wait like a week, a day, couple of weeks? Because I've talked about it before where I had the discovery call and I didn't follow up. I sent a text later that night. He didn't say anything back. So, and at the same time, when you're talking about this, where people have the emails, it's like, it does make sense that they aren't responding because that takes time out of their day. But at the same time, it shows a little bit of respect in your terms, because then it actually gives you an idea of what you can expect. Because maybe, I mean, for you in your situation, you're probably not going to be sitting there waiting for this person. It's like, I need this project or whatever it is. You got other stuff that you're working on and working towards, but other people might be in that situation where they are waiting for this specific one and maybe they can't make any decisions without it. So yeah, I guess I get the sense that it does take some time out of your day to actually go out and respond to them, but at the same time, it shows a little bit of respect. So I mean, going into my question, how long do you think you should wait in between each follow-up emails?
So one thing I started implementing, I like to have that conversation about when to follow up. So there's times when you don't know, like in your situation with that discovery call, you guys didn't talk about a follow-up. He just said, I'd let you know. Nothing else was said after that. So then in that situation, I'd probably wait about a week. No answer. You can wait another week. No answer again. Then you can maybe wait a couple days and say, hey, I haven't heard from you. But when I go into these discovery calls, I just had this scenario yesterday, met with a client that I probably met about 2 months ago on a different shoot. And they said, hey, reach out to me. We're going to do some video projects. So we went through the discovery call, finally lined up the strategy call. And at the end of the call, she said, okay, you showed me a lot to think about. And, I'm going to share it with my team. We'll talk over. And instead of just saying, okay, sounds good, let me know, I asked her, I said, when is a good time to follow up with you? How long do you need to talk with your team? How long do you need to think it over before I reach out again? And, you have enough time. And in that scenario, obviously I'm going to Vegas next week. So the week after I said, I'll be out of state next week, but is it okay if I reach out the week after? Does that give you enough time? And she said, yep, that'll be perfect. So I like to just have that conversation about when is a good follow-up. And if you keep doing that, like at the end of your calls, then when you do follow up, it doesn't feel intrusive. Had the same thing. A couple weeks ago, I was driving. A guy said, give me a call. Called him. He said, hey, we have this project. I'd like you to put a quote together for me. Put the quote over, sent it to him. And I said, he shot me a text. He said, okay, I'll look over this and I'll get back to you. And I said, cool. When do you want me to reach out if I don't hear from you? Mm-hmm. And he said, give me a week and a half, give me 2 weeks, whatever it is. So if you just ask that question, it's super, it's not weird. People might think asking about a follow-up is weird, but it's not. You just ask, when can I follow up? And it's much easier that way.
Yeah.
Then you're on the same page,
Yeah. It doesn't seem like a weird question to me to ask. And I think it's a really good question to actually ask them, because then they know when to expect a follow-up from you. If you say a week, then they can expect a follow-up from you in a week. And I think at the same time, it shows a little bit of discipline on your end that you're actually doing what you say you're going to do. So the last question I had on this one, what do you typically say in the follow-up emails, follow-up sequence, follow-up text, call, whatever it is? Is there any specific script that you go, or?
Not a specific script. I think it depends at what point of the process I'm in and the relationship built with the client. So if it's after a discovery call, usually I try not to follow up. I say, hey, can we book a strategy call next week, Tuesday? I try to get that booked right away. Right. So discovery call is when I don't give them too much information about discovery call. Really, I'm just collecting information about their business. And then I don't give them any ideas, any prices, any of that. I just say, cool, I'm going to put together some ideas. I want to sit on this, come up with some ideas that I think would benefit your business. When can we meet for a strategy call? And then if they say, oh, let me look at your schedule. Let me look at my schedule. I'm like, no, like, does next Tuesday work? Pull up your schedule now. Does next Wednesday work? And then we get in a date for the strategy call. After the strategy call is more so the follow-ups, where, I'll say, what was the question even again? I forgot the question.
What you should say.
Yes. Oh, what I should say. So then after the strategy call, that's more so when I take the information from the strategy call and decide what to say. So if they're like super on board with one of the ideas, they're like, okay, let's figure this out. And then a week later, I might say, hey, are you good to run with concept 3?
Mm-hmm.
Like, are you ready to go? And I try to keep it super informal, super like not pushy. Like, hey, is now a good time to get started on the project? Whatever it is, we can get rolling on pre-production. If they didn't decide on a project at all, like a concept, usually I give them 3 concepts. Like this particular client, I'll reach out and say, hey, did you have a chance to share the concepts with your team? Or, hey, did you have a chance to look over the concepts that I sent over or that we had in the last call, and allow them to say yes or no, I haven't had a chance to yet. If they say no, then you say, okay, cool. How many, do you need a couple days to look over that? And I can reach out on Friday. And if they say yes, I say, okay, which one were you guys leaning towards? Or I try not to let them say like, did you like it? Like, don't ask the question like, oh, do you want to do one of them? Pretty much it's like I think they call it an assumed close. Cool. Which one did you want to move forward with?
Okay.
So then it's already like, oh, they already committed, right? Which one do you want to? Because I know you already want to do one. Then it's harder for them to say, actually, we don't want to do any of them.
Yeah.
So, yeah. But this goes into, I'll go into one other thing. As far as updating like the pitch decks, I had this come up with this client I was meeting with, and I don't think clients realize what they want. And I know we've had this conversation off the podcast, but I was meeting with her and she said, okay, we want, a few 30 seconds, a few 15-second commercials, and then go from there. And the first package I did, that's exactly what I'm like, hey, this is exactly what you wanted. Here's this concept. Concept 2 is a little bit more. And concept 3 was a landing page and drive paid traffic to the landing page, have an explainer video and all this. And I showed her a whole new world of like, hey, here's what's possible. And she told me and I've had this happen a couple times where she's like, I didn't even think of that. And it's like, I know you didn't think of that because you don't know what you want. I'm like, I can tell you what might benefit you. So I'm starting to realize that a little bit more, is that clients think they know what they want, but really whatever industry you're in, if you're the expert, you should be showing them new, different strategies, different ideas, kind of give them your 2 cents rather than, hey, this is what we want. And you say, okay, cool, let's do it. Say, okay, we can do that, but look at all this stuff. So that's one thing I'm starting to learn, is start showing clients a little bit more. It positions you as the expert. You feel like more of a professional. So that's one thing I'm going to, try to do as much as I can.
Yeah. I like the one thing that you did where you're scheduling the call on the call, because it doesn't give them the opportunity to not actually, then it eliminates all the email follow-up and be like, hey, is this time work? Is that time work? And that's actually what we did with our one call, with the intro call with my buddy's mom and her business. We actually set up a call set up a schedule calendar or time to meet on the call. And that eliminated a lot of back and forth, figuring out what time works. And we knew exactly what was going to happen on our next action steps. Is like, this is when we're going to meet. This is what we're going to do. And I really like that. And I think one thing, if you're not necessarily like doing that, one thing that I've heard in the past that you can do is give them 2 different times. So it's like, does Tuesday morning or Wednesday afternoon work for you? Instead of just saying, how does Tuesday sound? And it's like, no, that doesn't work for me. So then it leaves like no in the thing. Whereas like if you're giving them options, then it's a little bit better for you. So yeah, I I had this scenario happen with me with I added in here with like the follow up on Discovery, and Eddie just actually texted me. He's still selling for me again, and he's like, I don't know, I can't remember exactly what he was saying, but he was just like, have you decided anything about your editor or what's going on there? And then he's like, yeah, I'm going through a couple different people. And he's like, just go with Tyler. I've had the best experience with him. He's the best. Just go with him. There's nothing but great things about him. And I gained nothing from you going with him. So it's just funny that Eddie just continues to sell for me. And I've had this thought about going back to him and following up on him for maybe like the past week or so, and just texting him being like, hey, how's it going? Have you had time to reach out to a couple other people? Do you have any other questions? And been thinking about that. And since Eddie just did that, I feel like I want to wait a couple days now. So it's not like Eddie does this and then I follow up right after Eddie texts him. So yeah, I think I'm going to wait a couple more days on that, because just, trying to get that first
Do it
client.
next week, man.
Yeah.
Do it next week.
I'll do it sometime this week.
Dude, the money is in the follow-up. I promise you.
I don't know.
Clients forget about things. They forget about things. And then you're like, I just had this. I texted a guy yesterday about my last Vegas trip. So when was that? A month ago?
Yeah.
And he was the one that called me when I was driving to Grand Forks to fly out. And he said, hey, here's the project I want to do. I said, cool. I'm going to Vegas right now. I'll get a proposal to you next week. And then I sent him the proposal, like $5,000, $10,000, and $20,000. And he's like, okay, I got a lot to think about here as far as this goes. I texted him a week after that and I said, hey, did you have a chance to look at it? And he said, yep, mulling things over right now. Let me get back to you. And I said, cool. And I was like, okay, I'll follow up in a couple of weeks. And I just followed up yesterday and I texted and I said, hey, Rick, just wanted to see where we're at on this project. Did you have a chance to make any decisions? And he said, it's funny you say that. I was actually just thinking about that. I have to reach out to this other lady. He said, if I can reach out to her and she's still available, we'll go with concept one. So it took me 2 or 3 follow-ups to finally get him to make a decision. And if I would have just left it, I might never have heard of him or never heard from him. So key is in the follow-ups. I know people think that follow-ups are like, it's like, oh, I feel like I'm being pushy, but really it's just, you're asking. If you're giving a service that's going to benefit them, you're like, hey, you ready to go? Hey, you still want to move forward on that project? Hey, you want to do this? Mm-hmm. And then eventually they'll make you a decision, or you'll make them make a decision.
Yeah, on the topic of follow-ups, so we had one of the updates that I had was I did like a little Google ad overview type of call. Man, you're squeaking over there.
Yeah, it's a little squeaky arm here.
Yeah,
my arm.
Your arm's starting to sound like mine, right? Got to oil that shit up. Yeah, I had the Google ad management type call with Buddy and his mom, and just like I was going through everything and telling them what they should be doing, and like I feel like it made it seem like it was a lot, and and when I was telling them to what they should do and like looking through their campaign, I'm like, man, they're not doing a lot of good things, and I think they could really use this and it could be really beneficial for them. And it's like we were going through the search terms and what they're showing up for, and I think I could I could provide a lot of value to them. So that call went really well. I prepared a little bit of a document of different keywords that they could do, different headlines, and I shared that with them to try and make it look like I prepared and actually like know what I'm doing. And I shared that with them. They really liked that as well. And this is going to be something that I'm going to follow up with him, because I think he's somewhat trying to manage her Google ads. And he said after the call, he's like, yeah, I'm just going to implement everything that Tyler said after this call. Don't know if he did or not, but that's actually what I'm going to follow up on and be like, hey man, how's the Google ads going? Is there anything, like, have we seen any improvements? And then if I hear back and he says, I haven't made any of the adjustments, it's like, well, you got a guy if you know, if you need someone. So yeah, that's
a fine line. Like giving away too much information,
Yeah. I went through a lot. Like Google Ads is big. So it's like, does he want to learn it and then actually figure out how he can be successful? Or because like we only had it booked for an hour. I think we went like an hour and 10-ish, but like Google Ads is a lot and there's a lot of stuff to do. And so we went through a lot and I tried to help him out as much as possible. And I think it might be like an overwhelm factor where there might be just too much stuff going on. And hopefully maybe they'll pay me, but we'll see.
My idea for you, my advice for you. Yeah. My advice for you would be, I like that you're giving them value. Like, hey, here's a headline. Here's some search terms that you can do, is almost give them information, but not all of the information, where it's like, hey, here's a cool thing you could do. And then when you're going through, so in your hour call and you're going through the Google ads and explaining things, almost make it seem like you know what everything is, like, oh, I would change this and this and this, but make it sound a little bit complex where they're overwhelmed. Like, oh my God, like he would make all these changes, but it's so much. Right. And then you have where they think he gave us all this information, but we don't even know where to start. Whereas you hold the key to where to start. So that's kind of what I do for video. It's like, well, you can do a podcast, but then you need, so like a guy reached out to me. He's like, hey, I want to start a podcast. What equipment should I get? And I'm like, okay, you need these 2 podcast mics. The 3 cameras you should get are this. And then the software you need to do that is this. And then how you sync the audio and the video is you click there and you right click and hit sync. And he's like, holy shit, it's a lot of stuff. And I'm like, yeah, I know it is. And I can do it for you. So yeah, that's where you give them the keys to the kingdom, but just really they don't know how to. Oh, exactly. I won't. But yeah, because I do that. I had a call here a couple months ago with a gentleman and pitched some ideas, and he's been working with another video production company. So it's kind of a thing where I got to try to convince him to come to me. And I gave him some ideas for some videos, but I didn't give him all the ideas because I didn't want him to take the ideas and then just go with the same video production company he was using. So I was like, oh, here's a cool concept that might work. And then I kept it very vague. So I ended up not getting him. So maybe that's a good thing where he can't just steal the ideas that I had. They're really good ideas and then just go film them with the other production company. But yeah, that would be my advice for you, is like, definitely give them information, but make it seem like, holy fuck, we can't do this ourselves.
I think there's a couple ways that you can look at this, or I gotta start saying that more. I believe there's a few ways that you can look at this. Sure, you can do that, but another route that you can do is you sell, you sell the strategy. No. You give away the strategy and you sell the implementation. So you give away all the information and as much information as possible, and you sell the implementation. So they obviously do have the video production company, but if you leave stuff off the table, they might think you're incompetent, and they might be like, why didn't he say this? Why is he only recommending this stuff? Maybe he doesn't know everything that I want to know. So that's why you want to give them as much information as possible, and you sell you give away the strategy, you sell the implementation. And I think that's what I was maybe not necessarily doing, but I listened to a Alex Hormozi podcast before that call, and it was just really good timing because he was talking about what he would do, where he would join these mastermind groups, or something like an Arte type group, where he would be joining it, and then he'd basically be like, hey, let's get on a call. And he met with every single person in the group, and he's like, let me go through your sales process, your sales scripts, and I'm gonna make them better. And basically he over delivered there and made them seem like they owed him because he did so much work for them. So that's what he would do, and that's what I tried to do as much as possible with that Google Ads call. Yeah,
and then feel like they owe you.
Yeah, exactly.
I like that though.
It could either be that, or maybe it's just something in the future where I do need their help, or it's just he talks about it all the time, where it's like just having that owe, or that debt that someone owes you.
That IOU.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm gonna hang on to that one. That one's for a new car.
I don't know if that was referencing Dumb and Dumber, but that one's funny.
It was.
That's a good one.
I'd hang on to that one. Yeah.
Yeah, that's good.
Great movie. All right, Tyler, is it my turn or your turn?
You can
got
go.
Here 2, 4. Yeah. So one thing that I wanted to update on, I know I've been talking about hiring an editor and having people edit other things. Right now, we finished the project with the North Carolina editor, the whole VFX project. I wasn't overly excited about how it turned out. So that's one thing where obviously we're going to go through revisions and see if we can add some stuff so it looks a little bit more how I envisioned. But that's one thing that, I don't know, it didn't put me in the dumps, but I was like, this kind of sucks. I paid a lot of money for this and it didn't really turn out how I wanted it to. So I don't know. That's one thing I just wanted to share. I don't know how you really handle that or deal with that. Do you just give them another shot? Do you see if the revisions make it better? But yeah, I'll have to see how I want to work around that again.
Sorry, I wasn't paying attention to the first part. What happened with the client?
Well, it wasn't with the client. It was with the editor that I hired to edit it. And the edit came back and it was supposed to be like Iron Man feeling with holograms and like super VFX-y. In the VFX, it's good. It's better than what I could do, but it's not like I was envisioning, you know? I'm like, seems average. Like it's better than I could do because I don't have any VFX work, but I was like, gosh, this isn't what I wanted it to be. And obviously the client used it for their meeting and they said it went really well. But even then it's like, I don't know. It's like, it could be better. I showed a couple of people and I'm like, what do you think about it? And they're like, I like it. And I'm like, God, I don't know if I do though. That's the problem.
It could always be better though. It could always be better.
Oh, 100%. But like this,
do you got the budget for this Marvel type of movie or it
doesn't have to be a Marvel movie, but it's got to be better than something. It would just take me, could figure out how to do it myself. It'd just take me a little bit extra time, but I don't think it was worth $9,000.
That's what you paid him?
Yeah. So it's like,
Was there no edits in the contract? Did you guys have a contract? Revisions?
No, we don't have a contract, and he's fine about revisions. Like we can do revisions and all that. So I'm not worried about it, but it's just, I was expecting a little bit more on that first viewing session, you know, which is fine. I'll decide after the project is finished if I got my money's worth. But from the first, feeling I got, I was like, this needs some work.
I think you got to be honest with them then and just tell them that and be like, hey man, I thought this looked really good, but I thought it could, oh fuck. I thought it could be a lot better. I think you just be open and transparent with them and, give them the good news, give them the bad news, and then give them some more good news and hit or sandwich style that shit in there.
Yeah, that's a sandwich style. I like that. But yeah, I mean, that's kind of what I told them. I was like, hey, this looks really good as a starter. Like I mentioned as a starter, like, hey, we still need some work on it. I said, I'm going to meet with the client. We're going to go over some revisions to give you and then go from there. But yeah, we'll see. Client liked it. I'll send it over to you. You can tell me what you think. And then we'll go from there. But yeah, I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah. I mean, that's part of so in Arte right now, that's part of our month is dedicated to delegation. And I think that's just something that you have to be willing to do. And Ed talks about that, where the stuff that you don't like to do, even though you might be better at it, like you got to look at where your time's being spent. And I think it's good that you're spending your time elsewhere and you're delegating some other stuff out because it frees up a lot of your time. And that's what Ed talks about, where he's the best at coming up with notes for his interviews and podcasts, but he delegates it out. And what he talks about is you're not delegating a task, you're delegating a part of the vision and mission of your company. So I think that's what you got to start doing, is like you're delegating a part of that, where you're not just delegating a task, and how they can feel connected to the actual mission and vision of the company or whatever it is.
Yeah. And I'll have to see, because I was also working with another Minot editor, and he was working on another project, and I got that edit back, and I don't know. It's just not like anything that it's not wowing. It doesn't wow you. Like, I feel like when I'm editing, like I'm not trying to like brag and say I'm like an amazing editor, but like I'm looking at it, I'm like, a lot of these techniques and strategies for this editing is like dated, like cross dissolves and fades, and like the coloring didn't look very good. The color grading, where I'm not saying I'm a master color grader, but I can get it so it looks commercial like and better than if I just shot it in regular standard and then put it out there. So one thing I'm dealing with, trying to maybe allow some of the regression on the edits. Shimke, the guy that's working for me, also wants to learn editing. I don't know if I remembered that on the last podcast. So we're getting him Final Cut Pro, and he's going to start taking over some of the editing. So hopefully I can train him into that. And that kind of goes into one of the other topics I want to talk about, is that I want to start creating better content. Not that I'm creating bad content, but there's not much where I'm like super proud of, where it's like, this is like the best video I've made. Like, this is awesome. I want to show everybody. A lot of these are like, okay, this video is good, but I'm not itching to throw it on YouTube or on Facebook or anything. So that's where I want to start creating better stuff, I don't know, just I see all these other ad agencies and creatives and I was like, that video is really good. I know how I have the skills to create that, but I'm not. So that's where I'm in a conundrum right now.
Are you talking about projects? Not
just like video
content?
Yeah, no, just like like actual client work.
Maybe do another spec ad and then you got full range, full freedom, and then it's just, and there's no timeline on it, but maybe set a deadline, and so you're actually getting it done. But doing something like that where you just got your own vision and mission with it, and maybe you'll be able to create something that's legendary or outstanding.
Yeah, world class. I think it's something that I've thought about. Like I want to do that, but I need to come up with a script, an idea of something to film. Because right now I'm like, I don't have any spec ideas brewing. I got a couple, I guess, on a list, but I haven't fleshed them out. So I should. I did have a Bud Light one like 2 or 3 years ago that I had scripted, but I never shot it. But yeah, filming something would be good. I got a couple ideas that I could film, and it would be good to have full creative freedom.
Yeah, maybe try it out. I guess going into maybe some lows for once is we had a meeting the other day for Nuevo. We met up with a buddy. He's in our fantasy league. He has an Amazon account and he does some FBA. So we met up with him to try and pick his brain and see how it works and what's going on with him, because honestly, our goal with Nuevo is just trying to sell out, and I haven't really updated much on it. I feel like it's just on the back burner, but obviously not going well there. And our main goal is just selling out, making sure that we get rid of everything and maybe trying to break even. It's just not going well right now. So we met up with him, picked his brain. So we might be setting up a Amazon account and selling on there, trying it out. But it's like, we're looking at the other products on there. And it's like, I don't even think we can break even compared to these other products, that the way that they're selling them, because like some of the products are like being sold for less than what we bought for like everything.
What your cost was.
Yeah. So it's like, we can't even break even to compete with this. And it's like the race to zero that you hear often. So we don't really have that competitive advantage or reason for pricing like way up higher compared to other people. So that's one issue that we're running with. And another way that we're trying to sell out is Google ads and just running some shopping ads. And I don't know. So I set it up, and I don't know how, but I set manual cost per click, and then I thought I set it at 25 cents, and there's only been 2 impressions so far. The first day it was only at 1 impression, and it was at 1 cent for cost per click. And I'm like, oh, that's probably why. So I changed it to, I think 25 cents or 50 cents. And then we got 1 more impression. I'm like, fuck, this is taking forever. So I just upped it to $1. So we're still not getting many impressions from it. I don't know if it's because of the cost per click. I might just turn that off and see how that goes without it. Or maybe just a lot of people just aren't searching for it. But yeah, we're trying to run Google ads because, Facebook ads failed miserably. I know we always say whenever you're trying like something new, you got to give it time to actually let Facebook or Google, whatever platform you're advertising on, learn your system and learn your products. And we failed on Facebook. So we're running Google ads now, and plan is to maybe set up an Amazon account and sell on there, but we'll see.
Maybe you gotta go guerrilla style and just literally set up a stand, partner with like a coffee shop or something. Say, we're selling these for $20 or whatever. Just, make a little bit of money on each one, whatever it is. And then just rip through them. See how many you can, just do like 15 pop-ups.
Yeah. My sister's told me about that. She's like, oh, there's this event going on. Oh, there's that event going on. I'm like, but the reason we started this wasn't for that, but it might be one of the ways that we actually end up selling out is
But the reason you're ending it is because you need to get rid of the products.
Yeah. So we might just have to set up like a weekend one time and be like, hey, let's go out. Let's set up a pop-up tent or something like that at some place, and hopefully we'll sell out. Yeah.
Honestly, if that's your goal, to sell out, I'd just start, doing as much as you can to get rid of them and then move on from it. Because right now, if you got Google ads, Facebook ads, you're spending more money to try to make money,
Yeah, that's a fair point.
which is tough. It's like, okay, let's spend $1,000 on Google ads, probably not 1,000, but spend 1,000 on Google ads to sell out, $800 worth of product, whatever it is. So yeah, I mean, that's how I view it. It's like, obviously if you're breaking even on the ads, but if you're not getting any sales and you keep pumping money into the ads, it's just like, well, now shit, we're in the hole more than we were before we had all these products. So
yeah, we'll see how Google ads go. Currently, I think I don't even think we've technically spent anything yet. Yeah, we haven't even spent anything yet. I might just turn off cost or manual CPC, but we'll see how Google ads goes. Hopefully we can get a few sales out of it, but if not, it's off to trying new things.
Off to the new things. Only a couple more updates here, and then we can move on. But Bismarck partnership, the guy I'm working with went really well. We went on a shoot last week, and 4-day shoot. Went super well. He actually left for 2 of the days, so I was managing the productions with the clients and all the scheduling with him not there. And that's more of the role he wants to go into, is more of a production manager and not be on the shoots anymore and have me manage all of that. And I'm taking over some of the editing. So exciting to see that transition taking place in front of my eyes. Good to see that. And then he actually had another client reach out that said, hey, we want to shoot something in Minot. And he pretty much asked me, he's like hands off on all the production stuff. It's like, hey, when do you want to shoot this? Do you want to use our crew from Bismarck? Do you want to use the crew from Minot? What do you want to do for that? I'll just get you the budget. So it's nice. It's almost like another little salesperson. He brings in a job and I shoot everything, and he takes a cut obviously for that. But it's good to see the transition and him starting to push me clients. I wasn't really sure that was ever going to happen. It all seemed like a fugazi that's like, hey, here's my clients. I'll just have you do it. But now that it's actually happening, it's exciting to get those new projects. But that partnership is going well.
Maybe you should have a salesperson on your side and they just get straight commission. I've thought about that too, because I feel like I'm bad at sales, and just having someone sell for you, because I know there's a lot of people that are really good at sales. And
how do you find that person? That's what I'm wondering. And how does that work? Like, do they just go, hey, do video work? Just because I'd love to have a salesperson.
Yeah. I don't know. That's maybe something to think about. Maybe you can go to the high school or get someone in college and be like, hey, maybe go to like an entrepreneurship program and be like, all right, you get straight commission. Every project you get, we'll give you 10%, something like that.
I would give someone 10%, dude. You sell an $8,000 project, you just made $800.
Yeah, exactly.
It's pretty easy if you're good at getting those conversations rolling, honestly.
Yeah. So salesperson. For me, I can batch a couple of them here. I filmed a lot of content the other day, and I was just getting a lot done. It was podcasts, YouTube videos, short form content. And then what I ended up trying to do, I ended up pausing it, but I actually looked at the analytics and I'm like, ooh, maybe I should pause it. I ended up running a reach campaign I showed you my short form content that's promoting my podcast episode, and I boosted it, or ran an ad actually. I ran an ad for it, and just to try and get reach on it, I had one link click. The link click was to my podcast website page. But yeah, I was looking at the stats and I'm like, only 3% watched 4 seconds or more. I'm like, maybe I'll just pause this or turn it off.
Let's try a new one.
Yeah. So that didn't work out too well. I thought I would try it out and I only put $50 for the lifetime budget in it, but it wasn't working well. So I was like, okay, maybe I'll just pause it since it's not working well, and we'll just continue trying organically. And I think that's probably the best way to go. And then people just find you organically. So that's what I'm been continuing to do, is film a lot of content and try and create as much as possible.
It's good that you're testing and learning, though. That's good, because I'll let you test and learn. And once you find the fucking gold standard, you can tell me what it is, and I'll do it on my end.
Will do. Yeah, that's basically all I'm doing that's part of what I do is, as a marketing company, I got to test out and see what works, see what doesn't work, so I can offer and tell clients the best possible strategies. So that's part of what I need to be doing.
And then once you figure it out, you can run my ads. I'll create all of it. You can run them.
Let's fucking go.
Last one I want to talk about is just a little bit of relationship building. Is I met with a client over probably year and a half, 2 years ago, and nothing ever happened at that company she was at. And then she got a new position and we did one project. And now we had another call yesterday. She wants to do the same project that we did a little bit ago. And she also wants to introduce me to the like president of marketing that wants to do a bunch of different projects. So just goes to show the relationship building, as long as you keep that going, it might be 1, 2, 3 years down the road and an opportunity might spark from that person, you know. So always keep the relationships in good standing. And you never know what opportunities might present themselves, because it went from, we don't want to work with you at this time, thanks, to, okay, let's do a $2,000 project, to, okay, now it might be, anywhere 10,000 plus project. So keep those relationships in good standing. That's my last piece of advice for the meat and potatoes of this episode.
Maybe one more piece of advice for you. What are some of the ways that you can improve or maintain or have that healthy, that good relationship with a potential client or just someone out there? What are some tips that you would say that maybe
be
even
friendly.
you implemented?
Yeah, I mean, one is be a good person, like friendly in all of your calls, outgoing, ask them how their week was. How was your weekend? Did you go on vacation? Birthday texts I found are good. Send a birthday text, send a video, whatever it is. And then, there's one other one I was going to say. What was I going to say to build a relationship? Don't get upset if someone doesn't want to work with you, right? Mm-hmm. So like the first call we had, they were super on board. Everyone loved it. And they were going to do something. And then she left the company. That fell apart. And I said, okay, that's totally fine. If you don't want to work together, thank you for the time. I really appreciate it. Always end things on a good note. Don't blast them, send an email and be like, you guys should have worked with me. You're going to regret this, blah, 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 blah. Just make sure everything is cordial. Make sure that there's the opportunity down the road. Don't burn any bridges. That's probably the main piece.
Yeah, I like that. And just even if they say no to you, I think you can still be that source of information to still help them out and offer insights and strategies or whatever it is. And that just helps you stay top of mind. And it comes back to a situation like this where you might end up getting that job later down the road.
Yeah. And especially top of mind, interact with their social media. If they're posting on LinkedIn and they say, look at this cool project we're doing, like it and say, this is awesome. Congrats to your team, whatever it might be. So yeah, I mean, just not act like you care about the person. You should actually care about them, but stay engaged, stay at the top of their mind, and you never know what might happen down the road.
Mm-hmm. And last one on my end, the cold emails have started. I told you about it. I messaged one person and I did our strategy where if they weren't targeting the right locations, which they weren't, I would message them and email them and be like, hey, your ads are targeting the wrong locations. You might want to fix that. And then I went into it a little bit and I was like, I can do this for you if you want, but I just thought I would share this with you. I might not have sent as many as I'd like, but they have started. I have sent one.
Hey, started. That's all that matters. The first one is the hardest one. That's the one thing I've learned. You should send me a screenshot of what the email looks like so I can look at it.
Yeah.
Maybe I can give some pointers or tips.
Yeah, I actually created a doc on it, and I'm probably just going to copy and paste all my subject lines in my emails that I actually send out, and I'll just be able to, maybe I'll keep like a track of like 0 for 1 or...
You use Google? Like for your email, Gmail?
Yeah, I use Gmail.
You can create templates in your email when you hit compose template, and it's already saved for you.
Cool.
I mean, I don't have to show you how to do it. It's just on the bottom right with the 3 dots. I'm sure you can figure it out, but cool. Because I used to have a document with like the emails and I'd copy and paste, but now you can just hit save as new template and it populates into the email.
Yeah, I think I'm more so just doing this for my own benefit to see which ones are working, which ones aren't working. And then I can look back and be like, okay, this one did really well. This one didn't perform well. These are some subject lines that I tried and that didn't perform well. So I think that's the main reason for me wanting to just create like a doc of like, it might end up being like 50 pages at one point, and where I just copy and paste all my emails in there and subject lines. But yeah, that's what the main thing is just, it's more so because I think it was a mix of hearing Alex Hormozy when he talked about his sales calls and where he wish he recorded all of them. So I think it's just a mix of that where I'm trying to record all my cold outreaches.
Yeah. I like that. And especially don't don't switch up too early. Like get a good
Yeah.
sample size. That's the other
For
thing
sure.
I'd say. Like you don't, not after like 20, like try to get
Yeah.
100, maybe
Hundreds.
200 emails before you switch a subject line or before you switch the body. Because if you got a smaller sample size, it's how accurate.
This
is it
one
really?
didn't work. I'm going to switch it up.
Next one. But yeah, I mean, once you have that sales process implemented, I have so many email templates. Like one that's like your video is ready. That's when the video is completed. I populate that, just change the link. I have one for, welcome to Bennett Creative Media, where it sends them the onboarding video. I have one for contract, one for invoice. So yeah, once you get your sales process rocking and rolling, definitely utilize those templates.
Nice. I'll have to look into that.
All right, Tyler, throw it over to you for the business idea. But yeah, I'm glad I could be your email template mentor.
Yeah, so this week I thought of an idea it's called Lo-Fi Lounge, where you just kind of go to this coffee style type of atmosphere, and they got some nice lo-fi music playing, and you can get maybe a coffee or tea. I don't know if we want to get too extravagant with it and have like pastries and stuff. Maybe just keep it simple with coffees and keep it simple with drinks, and then so it's quiet as well. So you're not making any of like these frappuccinos that you might get at Starbucks. And it's more of like a location that a lot of people that work remote would go to and work there, or if you're don't even work remote, you just want to get to a really quiet place, maybe do some homework or do some studying. You're not going to get those people, the baristas grinding up these frappuccinos or whatever they're grinding up in their blenders. So it's just like a really quiet, peaceful atmosphere. Got some lo-fi playing, and then there's not going to be much talking or interaction. Just a nice chill place to get some work done.
I almost like it you can almost be hands-off employee-wise. So you don't even need people making the coffee. Like have a station or a bar where it's almost like self-serve, where you hire someone for 2 hours in the morning, goes there, makes a bunch of pots of coffee. You have like creamers in the fridge. So it's almost just a place where you own the building, and then people have like a little scan thing maybe. And then they can, I don't know how you do the paying for the coffee, or maybe it's like, how would you do the income system? Like if you go there and do it, how are you making money?
Well,
is it off the drinks or off the location?
Yeah, maybe
you pay $15 a month and you scan it at the door. You get access to it whenever.
Yeah,
free coffee.
I like that. I think that's getting into something similar to what are they called? Like the co-working spaces, where you have to pay like a monthly fee, and that would just kind of be like additional features that is included with it. So maybe that you kind of took it a different direction, going employee-less with your idea there. So yeah, I mean, maybe if there is the employee, or maybe it's just all automated, maybe it's like a whole bunch of computers and AI shit, and then it's just like you come there and it's like you put it in on a computer, and then it'll make it for you, and then it'll just dispense it, and then maybe everything's card. I do like the idea of maybe $15 per month, or there's also the thing in Tampa that I was at, the Courtyard, where they gave away the Wi-Fi. It's 2 hours for free, or you could pay for extended time. Yeah. So, but there's ways around it where you could just have like 7 different emails, and it's just like, so that's what
14 hours, baby.
Right. That's what I did. So yeah, those are some different ideas that, but I don't know why I thought of this. I think it's just because I always got like lo-fi music whenever I'm trying to focus and got something going on. And I feel like sometimes, like, we went to a Starbucks the other day, a guy from Arte, met up with him, and we went to Starbucks, and like we had to move outside because the music was so loud, the blenders were going, people were talking. It's like, it's not that quiet atmosphere where if you do want to go to a Starbucks, you might need like noise canceling headphones or something like that.
Yeah, I like it. You're a big lo-fi guy, not me as much, but if it's got to find its place in the market. Tyler, anything else for this week's episode? We're at about 110, so.
Yeah, this was a long one. I didn't think it was going to go this long, but it did. We had a lot to update, but no, I don't really have anything else.
Cool, me neither. We will see you guys next week. I'll be in Vegas, but you got your quote ready, Tyler?
Yes.
Oh, yes. Nice. My
I
favorite
was just
part.
pulling it up.
That's episode 46 of The Midnight Entrepreneur. If you have any questions you'd like us to cover or answer, email us at themidnightentrepreneur@gmail.com. If you found value in this content or found this entertaining, share this with a friend or post it on your story. And if you really enjoyed the show, we'd love a rating and a review wherever you're listening. Talk to you guys next week for another episode of The Midnight Entrepreneur.
People get rewarded in public for what they practice in private consistently. Tony Robbins.